Hello and welcome back to Exothermic Plays Games. I'm Exothermic and the date today is Thursday, May 30th, 2024. I've been doing a countdown of my favorite video games of all time through each day of the year, and coming in at number 216 is The Elder Scrolls 3 Morrowind. Morrowind has some of the most exciting and rewarding gameplay ever made, with long segments of everything being a pain in the ass in between it. You start off making your characters you've been released from prison on a ship. There's many fantasy races to pick from, but not necessarily the traditional ones you're familiar with. Each race has different bonuses and downsides, and then you also get to pick a sign that can do the same. When it comes to your character class, you can just pick from a list, or you can take a quiz to determine what your character should be. I was going to pick Sorcerer, but decided to take the quiz to show it off for the video. I got Sorcerer anyways. My goal here is to be a tanky mage, not necessarily a full-on spell sword, but more so a conjurer and fireball slinger that can actually take a hit. Once you're off the boat, you're good to do anything you want to. You should definitely talk to people around the port. As you discuss things with them, there's highlighted keywords that you can click on in order to continue the dialogue. Sometimes it'll say your journal is updated. There are no quests or missions in the traditional sense in this game. The game is pretty open-ended and you can do anything you want to. But if you want to experience some story, you'll need to pay attention to your journal. It won't give you neatly bulleted objectives or any markers on the map, or really anything to help you, except for a reminder of something someone said to you. From there, it's up to you to figure everything out. Also, a major advantage this system has over modern game design is that despite the quality of life features many modern games have, being able to read the journal as if it's an actual journal makes it easy to follow my progress. So if I stop playing for a while and come back, I don't have to worry about feeling lost or like I'm not sure what I should be doing or why I'm doing it. It's all there in the journal. That's one of the great things about Morrowind. It's all extremely organic. The problem is, it's all extremely organic. Not sure if you can take something without it being theft? Well, neither is the game, until you do it. And you've got to live with your consequences. If you're caught, you may pay fines, serve jail time, and even have to perform labor for your sentence. That combined with the unforgiving difficulty curve of the game means you should get really good at save management. Enemies can jump out at you, and if you're not careful, you might cause even more problems for yourself. If you want to make sure you're up to snuff for the powerful foes you'll face, you'll need to hone your skills. Everything you do, including running, jumping, and even bartering with merchants, is tied to a skill. The more you do that thing, you gain progress in that skill, and if you level up a major or minor skill 10 times, your character gains a level the next time you rest. When leveling up, you can assign points to increase your base stats. There's a multiplier for each stat based on which skills you increased during the level, including your miscellaneous stats that don't factor into the progress for it. With attacks, you have to be successfully attacking something in order to increase the skill, but with some types of magic, you can just keep casting them until you run out of mana, then rest in a bed to recover it all and do it again on repeat. This is one reason you'll see me always running and jumping. It's to increase my athletics and acrobatics stats as much as possible, because especially early on, you are slow! The world in Morrowind is very large, not as big as modern open world games, but for the time it came out, it's enormous. Still, it might take longer to run from one end of the world to the other in this game compared to something like Breath of the Wild, because your character just moves very slowly. One way to increase your speed is constantly jumping, because especially as your acrobatics level up, you'll get more length to your forward jumps. An easy way to level up your jumping is to find a nice, steep incline, and then repeatedly press the jump button as you move up it. You can actually jump really quickly this way, because you'll keep starting a new jump as soon as you touch the ground. Don't want to run everywhere very slowly? While you can't fast travel in the modern sense, there are a handful of options for transportation, but they do cost some of your money. You can take a boat to different locations by water, though you may need to take several boats depending on where you want to go. You can get places by land if you travel by Silt Strider, which again may require several payments depending on where you want to go. The last option is to just teleport across the 4 Mages Guild locations in the 4 major cities in the game, which does again require payment. There's lots of reasons to check out the different guilds and other factions in the game. For starters, it's a great way to regularly access resources for whatever class or playstyle you want to explore, and they each have their own subplots. The writing in Morrowind, while at times a little dated and cliche with the dialogue, is overall very good. The way you navigate through conversations can be a bit gamey, because you could just, for example, keep selecting the same option over and over and over if you want, and they just give the same exact answer. So it isn't exactly an organic flow to the conversation, but I really appreciate that in a game so dependent upon picking up clues and figuring everything out for yourself, you can see the entire conversation history in the box. Morrowind may be lacking a lot of the bells and whistles and quality of life features of most modern RPGs, but if you want a game with a slower pace and lots of room to take your time to just explore for the sake of exploring, it still holds up really well over 20 years later. Everything you find can be used for something, from bartering to random quests to alchemy. Additionally, Morrowind added an absolutely insane amount of lore to the Elder Scrolls franchise. Most of the books you see in Oblivion or in Skyrim, they were written in development for Morrowind and just copied over. There's over 300 books you can read in Morrowind, and while I do acknowledge that they're not exactly actual book length, it's still a couple thousand pages of content, which is incredibly impressive in its own right. One thing I often find myself doing in the Elder Scrolls games, when I have a place to store them at least, is collecting every book so I can amass the most amazing library in all of Tamriel, and Morrowind is no different. Join me tomorrow as I talk about the 215th game on my list, where I get to play as Dr. J.